Alright, this is a video idea I've had for a number of months now, because I enjoy talking about the media I consume, and Shonen Jump is something that I've been reading for years now. So I figured, hey, if anyone might want to listen to it, then I may as well put it out there. So yeah, this is an idea for a series I had called This Week in Shonen Jump. Um, this week, because I kind of cobbled all of my thoughts together sort of quickly. They're not in any particular order, but I figure if this keeps going, then probably every episode of this will be in the order that each series was featured in the magazine. But anyway, I'll just talk about, we'll summarize the chapters and talk about my thoughts on them, and without further ado, let's see how this goes. So, first thing I have notes on in this issue, November the 5th, is The Promised Neverland. And I'm still kind of riding the feels train from last week's issue. It was a really nice ending moment for Hugo and Lucas's story, but Emma and everyone else are very much in the dumps about this because they didn't get to see the joyful reunion, and in fact, some of them are thinking they want to go back to the shelter and see if they're all right. Ray says that that's a very bad idea because if Hugo and Lucas, if something happened to them, then they did it specifically so that the kids could get away, and it would be wrong to squander their sacrifice. And Emma is actually on board with this. She's now determined to move forward. She took the advice from Hugo's ghost. I'm assuming that was his ghost who showed up in her dream. Um, so she sets out to secure the area, which is an interesting little point of information. This means that this is not the same cave that the friendly demons were in. It might be in the same system, but it is not the same. And while she's setting about making sure everything's okay, Oliver reveals that Lucas gave him a note transcribing a phone call, which they got the day before the invasion. So this means that the the Rotary clan did not get all of the supporters because one of them managed to send a pre-recorded message. The message is by someone who claims to be Mr. Minerva, but Emma thinks it's kind of strange because in the message, this quote-unquote Minerva is kind of inciting an uprising, whereas in the one shared before, he said that any escapees from the farms could do whatever they wanted, and he'd have a system where people help them with whatever. But whoever was responsible for sending this message ended the message with a list of numbers, which encode coordinates of wherever they are. And so she thinks that they should go find this person because she's pretty sure it's not a trap. Because if it was a trap, the message wouldn't say, hey, find me at this location. It would say, hey, stay in your shelter place, I'll come find you. And then the invaders would have come, and that would have been that. I'm not sure about this, though. I think maybe it could potentially be a double-layered plan kind of thing. That the Rotary clan maybe sent a message so that if, for some reason, their invasion failed, it could lead them into a trap. But at any rate, Emma and Oliver are going to work on figuring out where this mystery supporter is. And meanwhile, though, some of the younger kids have decided to go back to the shelter, regardless of the older children's warnings. And this is a bad idea, and immediately goes wrong because Andrew, the leader of the invaders, as it turns out, somehow managed to survive that giant gas explosion and is spying on the area where he's pretty sure they fled to, and so now he has confirmation that they went there because he saw some of the kids leaving the cave. So yeah, I have to wonder if we aren't going to suffer several more casualties to the group. This is not looking very good. On a lighter note, Food Wars Chapter 286 shows that both Takumi and Megumi passed their first trials. They were cooking for infants and dogs, respectively. Um, so far, the Blue has had some very bizarre challenges, and the bizarrety is not over yet because round 2 is going to take place in a makeshift convenience store. One has to wonder if Guy Fieri was not involved in planning for this event, but the goal is to make a dish that the judge, and there is one judge, would be willing to pay $100 for. So she'll eat the thing and then give him a score. And everyone's got 3 attempts to make something to allow them to pass. And because this is a replica of a rather low quality convenience store, there's no super fancy ingredients. So a bunch of the chefs are worried. Uh, and while the main characters are talking about their plans, we see the various chefs who got a bite of the second round arriving, one of which is Tsukasa Senpai. And at first he's all intimidating, uh, as he was whenever he would show up in the story previously, but just like before, he immediately drops the aura of menace, I guess you'd call it, um, and says, "Oh, thank goodness that there are these people who went to my school that I recognize." And that begs the question: why didn't Ishiki or Kobayashi or even Chef Shinomiya get invited to the Blue? Because I imagine that all of them are talented enough to go. But at any rate, Ishiki figures that, hey, Soma's the first seat now. He used to be the first seat. Why not? They have a competition and see who can make the highest priced dish. I'm going to go ahead and predict that neither of them will need all 3 tries to get a dish over $100, but they're going to keep going anyway and trying to one up each of their scores. Uh, just because, I don't know, that's the hunch I'm getting. Next in my notes is We Never Learn, Chapter 86. Naruyuki has returned home with Fumino in tow, and his sister actually greets him at the door, and she asks him if he wants his dinner first, or a bath first, and if any listeners are decently versed in anime and manga stuff, I'm pretty sure you all know the next line was going to be, or me. Luckily, she does not finish that sentence because that would have gotten awkward really fast. Kind of surprised she nearly spilled the beans like that. She's in a very aggressive mood, I suppose. Because she notices Fumino's there, and so the rest of the chapter, or at least for a little while, just kind of glowering. But the rest of the family is all for letting her stay there until she figures things out, because her dad's being a huge jerk, and uh, Mizuki actually tries to convince them that she can't stay because, wait, she didn't bring any clothes, and my clothes won't fit her. But because of Fumino's body shape, shall we say, Naruyuki's shirts will fit her just fine, so that'll work hunky dory. But Mizuki does corner Fumino later and tells her not to get any ideas. But she says that no, she wasn't planning on doing anything like that. Although, of course, later on, she and Naruyuki both have the thought that, hey, we're living together, this is kind of weird. Naruyuki actually seems to pick up the no tact ball. It's like the idiot ball, except for when you're saying something that really shouldn't be said at the moment. Because it says, hey, this is kind of like what a married couple will be doing. And she yells at him, he apologizes, but eventually, she explains to him a bit more about her mother. Apparently, her mom was not just good at math, she was ridiculously good at math. Like, maybe Rizu level, maybe better at it than Rizu, I'm not sure. And so her dad was distraught at the death, not just because she was his wife, but it seems in large part because the world was losing a great mind. In fact, that might even be more what he was despairing over. The guy kind of cares more about math than anything else. But depressingly, we find out that Fumino, while her dad was in mourning, she tried to make him feel better by um by working hard at math, and she shows him her homework and says, yeah, I did good just like mom, and he hit her for it. So my general thoughts on the situation now is I have to wonder if the reason Fumino is not good at math might be because she has unconsciously suppressed the ability to understand it as like a defense mechanism because she was punished for being like her mother. So yeah, at any rate, it's very clear that her dad is not right in the head. But the chapter actually ends with she decides that it would be best to get some of her stuff from the house, and she knows what hours her dad works, so she's pretty sure that they can sneak in and grab some stuff. She and Naruyuki. But of course, this is the one day where he gets home early, and the two end up hiding in a cupboard. Chapter 204, where we learn that the Ida family can upgrade their engines by ripping out the exhaust pipes from whatever part of their body the engines are located in, which is very hardcore, very brutal, but it clearly got results because now Kenya can move even faster than his reciproburst for 10 minutes at a time. Um, and additionally, he mentions that fuel consumption is is more efficient, and obviously, since it was the exhaust pipes that were regrown, uh, it'll be much easier for him to manage heat, which is why he can do it for this long. Although, unfortunately, it appears that he can't really turn it off. Is what it appears to be. So he's moving really quickly, faster than his reaction time had managed to catch up to yet. Um, Rather uncontrollably. Still, uh, he's still very dangerous for someone like Juzo to try fighting against. So he decides to get out of dodge and soften the ground and then swim away through it. And Deku is hyped about Ida. He says that he's moving faster than Gran Torino, which is quite an accomplishment. Gran Torino is crazy fast. And Mineta theorizes, I really like this. He says that he's pretty sure that Ida was like his position of being the speedy guy in the class was being threatened ever since Deku started doing shoot style. Really, ever since he started using full cowling at all, but shoot style specifically because then he also started using his legs. So now, as Mineta puts it, Ida's got his mojo back. Um, Odro's having trouble with Kaibara's drilling attacks, but Ida, in a flash, zooms in, picks Kaibara up, and says that he's gonna go and drop him off the jelly. So he'll be back soon. Bye. Apparently he's talking faster also. So I think that in general the engines of the Ida family just speed them up um overall because I know that Tensei's engines were in his arms, but he still ran. So it's not that unfeasible that Tenya would be able to talk faster, but still, mostly for comedy. But more importantly, um, while this is all going on, Todoroki's fighting Tetsu Tetsu, who is basically immune to his ice. He's breaking through the ice. If he gets trapped in the ice, he can bust out because the ice doesn't stick to his skin. Um, and Todoroki decides, okay, let's try fire. He's also immune to fire because he apparently spent a day inside of a furnace to increase heat resistance, which I can only assume he would duck out briefly to, refill his iron levels. But still, that's quite the dedication. But it seems to work because now, in fact, not only is the fire not working against him, uh, he's red hot, and his attacks will hurt much more. And we know that Shoto is not immune to heat that he hasn't made using his own fire. Or it, the flames, when they sprout on his arms, don't hurt him, but otherwise, heat is still very much something that can hurt him. So, it seems like in general, Tetsu Tetsu's got this in the bag, unless the implication is that Shoto's going to whip out the prominence burn, or maybe not, as refined as that, but at the very least, he might heat up his fire to make it blue. Um, but I don't know. I honestly think it'd be a bit neater if he were to alternate temperatures, fire, ice, and beat him through drawing a blank, through temperature shock. I guess is I don't know if that's the exact term, but anyway, I think that'd be just kind of cooler since that's something that only he could do. And also, if he accidentally makes his fire too hot, he could very well kill Tetsu Tetsu, because that's kind of what the blue flames are being shown to be used for. That's the only time it never whips those out. So I don't know. Suppose we'll have to see how that goes. Next in my notes is Dr. Stone, Chapter 81. This chapter mainly consists of Tsukasa, despite having a hole in his chest, holding off Hyoga while Senku sets up various other scientific methods of attack. Or really, it's mainly just one trap that he sets. Is he sets up a string of gunpowder, and then, or like a not a string, a path of gun. I guess a string works for that. If it isn't clear, this is largely unscripted. I got notes, but and this is a learning process for me. But he set up a path of gunpowder and somehow ignited it. And he shouted out the direction that it was in comparison to where Tsukasa and Hyuga were. So Tsukasa was able to jump out of the way. Hyuga only had enough time to he actually whips off his cape and uses it to blow the explosion away, which is quite impressive. Not as impressive as when Tsukasa did something similar very early in the story when he was about to get caught in an explosion and he just I don't remember if it was like a karate chopper. I think it was a kick, and he kicked the gunpowder. Maybe it was a karate chop. At any rate, he managed to split the gunpowder so the explosion went on both sides of him and he could get away. So Hyoga clearly isn't as fast as Tsukasa, but still very strong to be able to blow it away with his cape. And Senku actually seems kind of worried about this, but as Hyoga approaches him, he tells him, "Don't come any closer. I have another plan. I can beat you with one finger." And Hyoga just stabs him in the chest, and the force behind that sends him flying. But it turns out a little bit later that no, he wasn't kidding, because the way that he ignited the gunpowder was he had some wires that he somehow strung under his clothes and happened to be keeping the batteries in the chest of his shirt. So he's completely fine. The manganese batteries are tough enough that the spear didn't pierce them, and the chapter ends with him electrocuting Hyoga. So it seems like Hyoga's done, and unless I guess there's still Yo and Homura to deal with, but at least the big threat at the moment is taken care of, and maybe Senku will be able to get Tsukasa back to his sister so that he can see her last time before he bleeds out. That would be nice. Uh, Alright, next up was Blue Exorcist, chapter 105, although actually, in the chapter itself, it's numbered as 104, which caught me off guard at first. But, so this chapter has Satan currently being called Rinka, because that's what Yuri called him when she first met him as a will-o-wisp when she was very small. So Rinka collapsed after he ran into her at the end of the last chapter, but she volunteered to keep an eye on him, try and keep him from going berserk, and try to help him to essentially tame him as she tames other demons. Shiro is not happy about this because, number one, he's still not fully on board with the demon taming thing, but number two, because they're working at Section 13, which is where he grew up, and you can't blame him for having bad memories of that place. But she's adamant that she wants to help him, because she says she compares him to being a demonic baby who just needs to learn, and then will be able to to maybe make his way in the human world. I guess I'm not sure what her end plan was, but I guess at the moment she just wants him to have a chance at life, and so there's a little bit of a montage. He learns a lot of stuff. And while Shiro is grumpy, and Rick takes him to the side and and tells him that he should really go ahead and make a move on her at some point, rather than arguing with her all the time. I mean, it was kind of weird that he randomly said that. I'm not sure what the point was, but he thinks he should make a move on her before someone else snatches her away, and we know how that's going to turn out. Or well, we don't know the specifics, but yeah, someone is very much going to snatch her away. But still, what Rick said prompts Shiro to end up volunteering when Iri wants someone else to help her try to expand Rinka's emotional intelligence by interacting with more people. The theory is he can become a more understanding person, I suppose, because he's learning very fast. He's absorbing knowledge like a sponge, but doesn't quite grasp the idea of other people being valuable, except for Yuri. He likes Yuri. Um, so Shiro shows up, and Rinka immediately tells him to stay away from Yuri. And so Shiro says, "Okay, fine," I won't spend time with you. I'm just gonna go over to this corner and see if I can. I'll play by myself," he says. Um, he actually recognizes an old toy, which is um, the closest analog that I know I've ever seen are these little jumping frog things where you press on the back and then they flip. And yeah, they frogs or bugs or whatever. And which is basically what it's a flipping something that he finds and he starts flipping it into a bucket. And Rinka gets all jealous, says, "Well, I can do that too. You're not all that cool." But he can't. Uh, it's obviously something that you need practice with. And Shiro jokes that, "Oh man, you suck at this." Rinka uh, responds to that by attacking him, but Yuri defuses the situation and tells him not to be a sore loser. And she says, "You just need to practice." And he says, "Well, I want to win. That's I'm not supposed to lose. I'm cool." Um, but after Shiro leaves, he says he very much does not want to do this again because he almost got attacked by a demon. And but Yuri begs him to reconsider, and he crumbles and says, "Okay, fine, I'll show up again." And Rinka decides that because he wants to win against Shiro, um, during the night he breaks out of his room and kidnaps one of the researchers as a hostage and says, "Bring me as many books as you can." He wants to learn as much as he can so that he can be better than Shiro. And when Yuri shows up the next day, um, apparently one of those books, actually, considering this kind of facility, probably a number of the books talked about demons, and he has realized that he is Satan, and so yeah, he declares that he is a demon god, and the implication he gives off is that he's too good for this place. So presumably, this is why they wanted to try and increase his emotional intelligence, because if he found out who he was, then if they had instilled in him the idea that, hey, be nice to people, um, finding out you're one of the most, I guess, kind of the second most powerful being in the. So it is troublesome that he knows, and we're gonna have to see how things go down after this. Again, we know what the end result will be, but we're not sure what's gonna happen between now and then. Um, these last few chapters, I didn't take as many notes on because uh, before I decide to do this week by week, I had just been taking notes for months on all the different series, and some of them I ended up deciding that I wasn't going to take notes on, but now I am again because I figure if I'm going to review each weekly issue, then they may as well do all of it. So the next chapter was Seraph of the End, chapter 73, and in this one, Yu discovers he he learns that Shinoa has the whatever this weird spiritual thing that's been trying to influence the Hiragis. That this thing is influencing her also, and so he actually goes into hyperprotective mode, which I imagine he would do for any member of his family, but still he goes over and tells her that he's going to help her fix this, since I mean you got a monster in you, and that's not okay. She makes the logical argument that you have a monster in you. If you want to count Ashiromaru, then he's got two, and you're fine. Um, actually, I suppose she would have two. Well, anyway, he's got a monster, and you're fine. But he says no. Like he just has this gut feeling that something's wrong, and this aggressively protective attitude of his prompts her to think to herself that her inner walls are crumbling. So, in other words, she kind of get turned on, um, but she steers the conversation away by noting that, come to think of it, she's pretty sure her monster is talking to a Shuramaru right now. And he says, "How can you tell?" And she says, "Well, um, I can actually hear Shuramaru is calling for you." And it's unclear how you didn't notice this, and she did, but she did. And so he jumps into his sword, or mentally jumps into his sword. I guess. Yeah, he enters the mental dimension of his sword, I guess, and rescues Ashuramaru. Although this monster doesn't seem all that malicious, honestly. Um, it seems like its main goal is, well, actually, it's stated that its main goal is it wants to help Ashuramaru regain his memories of his former life. And when Yu shows up, um, it suggests that it knows about his past as well. So, um, but Ashuramaru is just freaked out by this thing. So he and you are going to try fighting it off side by side. And what it says is that, haven't seen you two fighting together in a long time. So, um, yeah, a lot of there's a big mystery surrounding what the heck happened before they were who they are now. Um, kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's a monthly series, so I can't get as invested in it. Seraph in general um, tends to have a lot of things going on, so it's hard to keep track of when it's monthly. But at any rate, uh, World Trigger Chapter 166 happened to this issue, and really nothing of note happened. I'm gonna be honest. Everyone just talks strategy. So instead of talking about the chapter itself, I'll mention that I think that despite what I just said about monthly series being hard to keep track of, I think World Trigger might actually do a little better as a monthly, not only because uh, it'll be easier, I imagine, for the author's health, um, but also because otherwise, like even as a weekly series, it tends to be kind of slow paced. So if it's a monthly, at least when there is a chapter, there'll be more crammed into it at once, and it'll be easier to keep track of where things are going because it won't be like multiple chapters of discussion of planning, and then I forget how many chapters a fight would take because it's been almost 2 years since the last time it was in the magazine. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that the author's doing okay. So um, yeah, as a monthly, I think it'll do better. I assume that it'll be in the American Weekly Shonen Jump because American Weekly Shonen Jump is basically just I'm pretty sure it takes from all of the, well, not all of them, but numerous Japanese offshoots of Shonen Jump. We only get one, so even though it won't be in Japan Weekly Shonen Jump, I think it'll still pop up in America's version of the monthly. But anyway, yeah, getting off track. Again, this is kind of gonna be probably a rough start. I imagine if I keep doing this, things will get better as it goes along. But Hunter x Hunter chapter 389, Prince Serednich. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The fourth prince guy um, is revealed to um, basically, in a nutshell, while he's meditating or doing Zetsu, is it's called, but from what I understand, that's kind of a meditative state. Basically as King Crimson from JoJo, so you can see 10 seconds into the future, and the first 10 seconds he sees right away, and then after that, as time goes on, he'll keep seeing whatever's happening would happen 10 seconds later, and he can uh, change what he does for those 10 seconds, and no one will recognize that he changed anything until the 10 seconds are up, which explains why um, when he got shot in the head, he wasn't actually shot in the head. That's what would have happened if he didn't foresee himself getting shot in the head and move out of the way. So, quite literally, I think, King Crimson. Um, One Piece, chapter 923, was a very simple chapter. It's just Luffy attacks Kaido, he keeps using stronger attacks, and doesn't leave a scratch on him, and then Kaido one-shots him. Rather uneventful overall. I don't know, might have more to say about that. Uh, in future issues, I'm not sure. Um, Similar thing with Black Clover. Spatial magic use. I still have a hard time keeping track of the names in that series. The the elf spatial magic guy uh, is still stronger than Langris. He can make more portal things than him. So to make up the difference, um, both Yami and the sword captain guy just just start cutting through space. That's just a thing that they can start doing because they both have spells that can do that. So or in the other sword guy's case, it's more that he somehow adjusts the how they put it, the frequency of his magic or something, so that it just works, so he can keep cutting through different kinds of magic. So yeah, that happened, and it seems like the chapter ends with them both at evil space elf. Yeah, basically at his throat. They're both coming at him from both sides because Langris teleported them in. And the last thing I have notes on is the comic, Kazuki Takahashi's short series, which is kind of interesting, kind of not fantastic, but it's interesting. But so the protagonist is, in a nutshell, now he has been framed for the Halloween murder, despite the fact that that the guy who was formerly convicted for it is still in prison, and they haven't let him out. In fact, they moved him into solitary confinement, which doesn't make sense if they're thinking based on the the manipulations of the manga author from Hell that that the protagonist manga author is responsible. Like if they're thinking that, then why would they increase the punishment on the guy that they already have? I would assume that that maybe because of the manga author of Hell, that's just how I'm gonna keep referring to him. Like if I whenever he pops up in the rest of this thing, like because um, but I imagine maybe because he threatened his former assistant, that maybe he requested to go into solitary for protection. I don't know, but the protagonist is going to have to figure out how to properly make a case and get the manga author from Hell behind bars where he belongs. Um, he'll probably have to have more evidence than, hey, he wasn't actually in his studio when the fireworks went off, because then he wouldn't have been in the fireworks. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how this turns out. And yeah, that's everything. Again, this was pretty rough. if I keep doing this, then I'm sure I'll get better at it over time. I know that I don't have the most, I guess not photogenic, but I guess you call it. I probably don't have the most audiogenic voice, but but even if no one watches this, it still might be nice to just be able to talk about the stuff I've been reading, even if just into the ether, because uh, yeah, it's better than just thinking about it to myself, I guess. Even if I'm technically talking about it to myself, I mean, better than nothing. Really sorry about this. That this is awkward, but hey, it's not like I'm gonna stop playing video games on the channel either. I am called M2 Gamer after all. But yeah, I guess if any of you enjoyed my rambling, then leave a like, I suppose, and then I will be encouraged to ramble more later.